على رسوله الكريم. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. إن الذين يؤذون الله ورسوله لعنهم الله في الدنيا والآخرة وأعد لهم عذابا مهينا. والذين يؤذون المؤمنين والمؤمنات بغير ما اكتسبوا فقد احتملوا بهتانا وإثما مبينا. يا أيها النبي قل لأزواجك وبناتك ونساء المؤمنين يدنين عليهن من جلابيبهن ذلك أدنى أن يعرفن فلا يؤذين وكان الله غفورا رحيما. لئن لم ينته المنافقون والذين في قلوبهم مرض والمرجفون في المدينة لنغرينك بهم ثم لا يجاورونك فيها إلا قليلا ملعونين أينما ثقفوا أخذوا وقتلوا تقتيلا. سنة الله في الذين خلوا من قبل ولن تجد لسنة الله تبديلا. Respectful friends, in this surah, if you recall, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had been mentioning the status of Nabi Kareem sallallahu alayhi wa sallam and some of the etiquettes towards Nabi Kareem sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. In last week's tafsir was the importance of durood upon Nabi Kareem sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. In the previous verses we had done that يا أيها الذين آمنوا لا تدخلوا بيوت النبي إلا أن يؤذن لكم إلى طعام غير ناظرين إناء, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had addressed some of the inconveniences that the Muslims caused Nabi Kareem sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa sallam. These inconveniences were not deliberate, but it was a matter of them learning the etiquette and the adab with regards to not causing inconvenience to Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So for that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed the verses that we've covered, which was sufficient, the slight admonition, and that would be sufficient for the believers to understand that they should not enter the house of Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam without permission, and also they should not wait for food to be served. And at the same time, if they are invited, then they should not remain sat there, causing inconvenience to Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So in those verses, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has addressed the believers. In the verses that have been recited now, here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is addressing in a similar manner with regards to inconveniences and hurt to Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam. But here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is addressing mainly the munafiqeen and those who do not have iman. In the opening verse Allah ta'ala says that إِنَّ الَّذِينَ يُؤْذُونَ اللَّهَ وَرَسُولَهُ لَعَنَهُمُ اللَّهُ فِي الدُّنْيَا وَالْآخِرَةِ وَأَعَدَّ لَهُمْ عَذَابًا مُهِينًا. That indeed those who hurt Allah in His Rasul, لعنهم الله في الدنيا والآخرة, Allah curses them in this world and the Akhirah. وَعَدَّ لَهُمْ عَذَابًا مُهِينًا, and He has prepared a humiliating punishment for them. Muhina, disgraceful. Adhab, a disgraceful, humiliating punishment for them. Here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala now addresses those who do not have iman, and specifically the munafiqeen as well, as they would deliberately cause hurt to Nabi Kareem sallallahu ta'ala sallam. The believers they didn't deliberately cause inconvenience to Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, hurt to Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. It's just that their actions would cause hurt or inconvenience, but not deliberate. As to deliberately cause such hurt to Nabi Kareem Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, this would be kufr anyway. So here Allah Ta'ala addresses and mentions with regards to munafiqeen. And the munafiqeen, they were the ones who would cause hurt to Nabi Kareem Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. And this would be by, one way would be where they would spread false rumors with regards to the household of Nabi Kareem Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. The incident of Ifk that we had done not so long ago, the accusation against Aisha radiallahu ta'ala anha, and their constant planning and speaking ill of the Muslims, and always conjuring something or the other, and also associating with those who were at war with the Muslims. Although they were not in Medina, those who were outside Medina, but they would then join ranks with them. They would say that they are with the Muslims, but then at the last moment they would leave the Muslims. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says to them that لَعَنَهُمُ اللَّهُ فِي الدُّنْيَا وَالْآخِرَةِ. Now here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions that إِنَّ الَّذِينَ يُؤْذُونَ اللَّهَ وَرَسُولَهُ, those who hurt Allah and His Rasul. Now here, by hurting Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we know that Allah ta'ala, nobody can hurt Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But hurting Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala means doing such things which another person would feel hurt from. That is what is mentioned here, by hurting Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Otherwise, Allah ta'ala doesn't get hurt by this, Allah ta'ala is free from this. But to do such things as ascribe partnership with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that's why the Mufassirin mentioned that he refers towards those things that the Nabi Kareem Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam has mentioned in the hadith as well. As in one riwayat, a hadith of Qudsi Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam mentions that قال الله, Allah Ta'ala says, يُؤْذِينِ ابن آدم يُسَبُّ الدَّهَرَ وَأَنْهَى الدَّهَرَ أُقَلِّبُ لَيْلَهُ وَالنَّهَارَ. Allah Ta'ala says that the children of Adam have hurt me. And that is how, that they curse time. That they curse time. And Allah Ta'ala says, Ana Dahar, I am time. Meaning that people curse time when they say, well, time has not treated us well. Times are bad. Times are this, time is this and that. So Allah Ta'ala says that, after all, who controls time? I am the one who controls time and the conditions. As Allah says, that I am the one who uqallibu laylahu wan-nahar. I am the one who, in whose control is that your day and night, meaning your affairs of the day and night, everything is in my hands. So they, by saying and cursing time, are indirectly ascribing this towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because Allah ta'ala is the controller of time. So time itself is nothing. Whatever comes in a person's way, like a person will say, well, my time is running bad, my time is not well, it is going through a bad luck or a jinx or a cursed time or so. So the time is not going to jinx anybody. None of these things occur. It is whatever is in his muqaddar, whatever is in his destiny, that is what's going to happen. And each person's destiny is controlled by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And where destiny may be negative, a lot of that has to do with our own deeds as it is, our own actions anyway. So it has to do with the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So Allah Ta'ala says for them to swear, speak ill or to curse time, in actual fact is cursing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And other Mufassirin mentioned that here يُذُونَ اللَّهَ وَرَسُولَهُ. In يُذُونَ اللَّهَ refers towards that which causes hurt to Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. So nothing direct to Allah Ta'ala, but whatever is hurt is caused to Nabi Kareem Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, that will be the same with Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala. As for instance in a hadith, Nabi Kareem Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, hadith of Tirmidhi, where Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam mentions Allah, Allah fi ashabi, that Allah, Allah with regards to my ashab. Man ahabbahum fa bihubbi ahabbahum. that the one who loves them, it is for me that they love them. وَمَنْ أَبْغَضَهُمْ فَبِبُغْضِي أَبْغَضَهُمْ. And whoever dislikes them, they dislike them because of me. وَمَنْ آذَاهُمْ فَقَدْ آذَانِي وَمَنْ آذَانِي فَقَدْ آذَانَ اللَّهُ وَمَنْ آذَى اللَّهُ يُوشِكُ أَن يَأْخُذَهُ. Allah Nabi mentions, and whoever causes hurt to the Sahaba causes hurt to me. And whoever causes hurt to me causes hurt to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And whoever causes hurt to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they will be taken to task. So here Nabi Kareem sallallahu alayhi wa sallam has ascribed and attached aziyat to him, in hurt to him, to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And what Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam mentions as one of those things that brings hurt to Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam is to bring hurt upon the Sahaba Kiram radiallahu ta'ala. So this shows the maqam and the position of the Sahaba Kiram radiallahu ta'ala, to dislike them, to hurt them, to have enmity towards them because they are the Sahaba of Nabi Kareem sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. This all comes down to what? Dislike towards Nabi Kareem sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Dislike towards Nabi Kareem sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, causing hurt to Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, hatred towards Nabi Kareem sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, all comes down to the same with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as well. So here let us say, إِنَّ الَّذِينَ يُؤْذُونَ اللَّهَ وَرَسُولَهُ لَعَنَهُمُ اللَّهُ فِي الدُّنْيَا وَالْآخِرَةِ. Allah Ta'ala has cursed with them in this world and the hereafter. وَعَدَّ لَهُمْ عَذَابًا مُهِينًا. And Allah Ta'ala has prepared a humiliating punishment for them. Meaning in the hereafter, any punishment is going to be humiliating. وَالَّذِينَ يُؤْذُونَ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ وَالْمُؤْمِنَاتِ بِغَيْرِ مَا اكْتَسَبُوا فَقَدْ احْتَمَلُوا بُهْتَانًا وَإِثْمًا مُبِينًا. And those who harm the mu'mineen, the believing men, and the mu'minat, the believing women, بِغَيْرِ مَا اكْتَسَبُوا, for no sin on their part, means that they are innocent, but they just falsely accuse them, then فَقَدْ احْتَمَلُوا بُهْتَانًا, they will bear a burden of slander, وَإِثْمًا مُبِينًا, and a major, meaning a manifest sin. This now refers towards the believers in general, that those who falsely accuse the mu'mineen, believing men and women, and that is something that they have not done. Just the way with regards to Sayyidina Aisha radiallahu ta'ala anha as well. And that was something that the munafiqeen were the main instigators of it. The likes of Abdullah bin Ubay as-Sulul, it was there from his home that he would instigate this, and he is the one who spread it as much as possible. And whenever people would come to him, then this is how he would start, oh, what do you think about this, what do you have to say about this, oh, have you heard about this? He would not let go of it. So he was the main instigator behind it. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that فَقَدْ احْتَمَلُوا بُهْتَانًا وَإِثْمًا مُبِينًا, that they will bear the burden of slander and a manifest sin, which shows us as well that as believers ourselves, how important it is that we do not slander somebody. And that will be buhtan, which is slander. Something, ghibat is to speak bad of somebody, of something that does exist in them, something which is negative in them. And buhtan, slander, is wherein a person ascribes something towards them which is false. So buhtan, slander is a major sin. And for that is وَإِثْمًا مُبِينًا, a manifest sin for which a person will be severely punished. And here, just the way Allah Ta'ala mentioned in the previous verse, in the الَّذِي يُؤْذُونَ اللَّهَ وَرَسُولَهُ, here Allah Ta'ala is mentioned وَالَّذِي يُؤْذُونَ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ وَالْمُؤْمِنَاتِ. It just shows how important it is to not cause any hurt or harm to any believer, whether male or female. And it is for this that Nabi Kareem sallallahu alayhi wa sallam has mentioned that al-Muslimu man salima al-Muslimuna min lisanihi wa yadihi. That a believer is who? A Muslim is who? One who doesn't cause any hurt whatsoever to another fellow Muslim. And in another riwayat, Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam mentions man salima al-nas, so in the general form. So what is the general form? And the other is specific with regard to al-Muslimu man salim al-Muslimuna, and then you have this ayat as well. وَالَّذِي يُؤْذُونَ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ وَالْمُؤْمِنَاتِ. So this shows the importance of not causing any hurt to any believer, whether they are male or female. And this is what our deen and this is what our shariat instructs us. the importance of rights of people, the importance of looking after people and not causing any hurt to them and not causing any inconvenience to them. Something which had been mentioned today in the Jummah as well. Which had been mentioned in Jummah as well. As the Nabi Kareem Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam has mentioned in Hadith, that the believer is who? That la yu'minu ahadukum hatta yuhibbu li akhihi ma yuhibbu li nafsihi. A true believer is not the one who, a person cannot be a true believer until he doesn't love for his fellow Muslim brother what he loves for himself. So, aziyat, hurt, harm, this is something that we would not like for ourselves. Then why would we want that for somebody else? We would not want that somebody backbites us. Why do we backbite them? We would not like somebody to accuse us. Why do we accuse somebody else? We would not want that somebody hurts us, and why would we want that we hurt somebody else? We would not want to be inconvenienced, then why do we want to inconvenience another person? We are very demanding with regards to our own rights, that nobody should do anything to us, but it is fine if we do those things to other people. Nobody should steal from us, but it's fine if we steal from them. Nobody should deceive us, cheat us, or lie to us, but we lie to them, we deceive them, we cheat them. So, what we want for ourselves, how we want that we should be treated, that is how we should be treating others as well. And this is such a hadith of Nabi Kareem Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, as I mentioned this afternoon in Jummah, that if we were to make amal upon this hadith of Nabi Kareem Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, understand this, then a lot of social difficulties and dilemmas will be solved as well. Currently we're going through a time wherein almost every profession, everybody is on strike or wants to go on strike. One after the other, one after the other. Everybody is just demanding their own rights, but nobody is willing to give the rights of other people. People are not thinking that, look, by going to strike, it is going to cause what harm and difficulty and inconvenience to other people as well. But in this case, no, I need to get what I am demanding. Now imagine doctors and nurses wanting to go for strike. Now a department as the NHS, which itself already has such a backlog, where people are waiting and almost dying before they can be seen, and the manner in which the delays that are there in being served by the service. And then if such individuals also want to go to strike for what? For the sake of their own benefit. In doing what? The lives putting into harm and difficulty, the lives of other people, putting other people into inconvenience. So it's a case of we're not bothered about them as long as we get what we want. Whereas, if it was the other way around, imagine any of them had a family member or they themselves had to go on an emergency on the same day that nurses are on strike. They wouldn't be happy at all if they can't get that service. Similarly with regards to any other department, whether it's a postal or whether it is flight attendants, whether it is airport staff or whatever other department it may be. If it was the other way around, and that too deliberate at a time wherein people are in need of these services, traveling and these other whatever needs are there for the public in the public sector, this is what's causing inconvenience to people because we just want our own rights to be fulfilled rather than us thinking that whose rights should I be fulfilling. Further, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions with regards to hijab again, and then Allah ta'ala comes back to mentioning with regards to the hypocrites. The munafiqeen, one of the things that they would do is, the munafiqeen would always try at their utmost to bring hurt upon the Muslims as much as they could. But at the same time, because they were munafiqeen, they would be hiding their nifaq through the veil of iman. That they would show themselves to be Muslims, but in actual fact they were not. So because of that, they knew that they would be saved in a manner. As on many occasions, such things came to light as well. But the Nabi Kareem Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam would let them go because they would say that they are believers. That's the way يَعْتَذِرُونَ إِلَيْكُمْ إِذَا رَجَعْتُمْ. With regards to Tabuk as well, so many munafiqeen, they're the ones, and on various battles as well, that they would show their numbers, but when time would come, they would leave halfway. And then they would make all sorts of excuses. When they would make such excuses, the Nabi Kareem Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam would just accept the excuses and leave that to Allah Subhanahu Wa Ta'ala now. Similarly, on other occasions as well, as when Abdullah bin Ubay as-Sulul had mentioned with regards to believers, that when we return to Makkatul Madil Munawwara, يُخْرِجَنَّ الْعَزْلُ مِنْهَا الْأَذَلِ, that we will remove the humiliated ones, the honored ones will remove the dishonored ones. Means that we will get rid of the Muslims from Madinatul Munawwara. See, Zayd bin Arqam radiallahu ta'ala had heard this conversation of Abdullah bin Ubay as-Sulul. And when he had heard this, he mentioned this to Nabi Kareem sallallahu ta'ala sallam. Nabi Kareem sallallahu alayhi wa sallam had called for Abdullah bin Ubay as-Sulul. And he totally took an oath in that, and he denied that he had said this. But then afterwards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had revealed that no, this is the case in Surah Munafiqeen, that this is the case, that they take promises and they take such oaths, but they are false in it. And that this is exactly what they had said. And in which this way, Sayyidina Zayd bin Arqam radiallahu ta'ala, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had then justified what he had said. That what he had said was the truth. On this occasion and various occasions, Sayyidina Umar radiallahu ta'ala said to Nabi Kareem sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, give me permission that I go and I deal with Abdullah bin Ubay as-Sulul. To which Nabi Kareem sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said to him, no. If you do so, people will say that Muhammad has killed one of his own. Because that is what the people will say. That they show themselves to be Muslims. So Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam could not take that opposition, and because of that he just had his own person killed. So because of that, Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam left it to that, and the Muslims would tolerate the mischief of the munafiqeen. So whenever they would get that opportunity, they would try that. There were times wherein they would do what? They would just make a rumor that so and so leader or emperor or tribe or so, they are planning to attack Madinatul Munawwara. To get the Muslims worried about it now. And then the Muslims would now be preparing for such an attack to defend themselves. Whereas it would be nothing but the rumor. And then what they would do, for which these verses have been revealed, is as well. And the other was the false rumors with regards to Aisha radiallahu ta'ala anha. And then when Nabi Kareem sallallahu alayhi wa sallam got married to Safiya bint Huyayr radiallahu ta'ala anha, then there as well there were various things that slander that they were making as well at that time. So this mischief of theirs was continuous. Now what they would do as well is that they would deliberately harass the slave girls of the Muslims. That when they would be out and about doing the work, they would deliberately harass the slave girls. And they would do that deliberately to cause inconvenience and hurt to the Muslims. Now at that time, in doing so, they wouldn't directly or deliberately harass the Muslim females, meaning the free women. Because they knew that that would cause it. So they wouldn't deliberately do anything to them or harass them, but there would be times wherein they might not realize that this is a free woman, and she might just come into that harassment as well. So in order to draw an end to that, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed the following verses, wherein in the initial verse, there Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned with regards to the women who are free, that they need to now differentiate themselves from the slave girls. So that when they go out, these munafiqeen and others can differentiate. They know that this is a free woman and she's not a slave girl, so she should not be harassed at all. And in doing so as well, it is not a case of that is fine, they leave them, but then they keep on harassing the slave girls. For that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala then revealed a stern admonishment and warning to the munafiqeen. In other words, that all women, whether they are free or whether they are slave girls, they should not be harassed at all. It is just recent now that women are demanding rights. That look, they are being harassed, and that something should be done with regards to it, and they complain that they do not feel safe, and they are always harassed when they are outside and wherever they are. And see how here, this is now, we talk about the modern world now in the 21st century. This Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala already over 1400 years ago. Over 1400 years ago, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala already sets down the rule as to how this type of harassment can be stopped and how women can save themselves from this harassment as well. So the first part was to differentiate between the women, who are the free women and who are the slave girls. For that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that, Ya ayyuhan nabi, O Nabi, qul li azwajika, tell your wives, wa banatika, and your daughters, wa nisa'il mu'mineen, and the women of the mu'mineen, that yudnina alayhinna min jalabibihinna, that they should draw down their jalabib over themselves. ذَلِكَ أَدْنَا أَن يُعْرَفْنَا فَلَا يُؤْذَيْنَ. This is best for their recognition, so that they are not harmed. وَكَانَ اللَّهُ غَفُورًا رَحِيمًا. Allah Ta'ala is all forgiving and most merciful. So Allah Ta'ala says what? Don't Nabi, tell your wives as well, your daughters and all the women of the believers. What? Previously the verse was وَقَرْنَ فِي بُيُوتِكُنَّ. Previously it was that they should remain within the safe haven of the house, which we covered. But then women are going to need to leave the house as well. They cannot remain indoors all the time. There's going to be needs and necessities for which they need to leave the house. So when they leave their house, Allah Ta'ala says that they should leave in such a manner that yudnina alayhinna min jalabibihinna, that they should draw their jalabib. The jalabib is a loose garment that is worn above the normal garments. It is not the normal garment, so whatever the normal garment is, the jalabib is a covering above that which you will wear, which is loose garment that covers the entire body without revealing the shape and body of a woman. And Muhammad ibn Sirin rahimahullah says that I asked Ibn Salah with regards to this, and what he did is that he took a cloth and he put that over his head himself, covering his face, to show and demonstrate that it means that they should be covering their face when they go out. And he left one section just for the left eye, so that they're able to look. Now this ruling is for the free women and not for the slave girls. The reason being is for the slave girls, their clothing and their hijab will be the same as any free woman when she is with her mahram. That whenever she is with her mahram, besides the husband, there she will cover herself, but she will leave the face open. The face and the hands are left open in front of a mahram. So for a free girl, as for a slave, for her as well, her head, her face, this is exempt from covering. And the difference for this is why, between the free woman and the slave is, that the slave girl, she's going to be preoccupied in serving her master, and in doing so she's going to have to keep on going out and doing whatever work she needs to. Imagine if she has to keep on putting the hijab on to go out, that's going to be a lot of inconvenience for her in the role that she plays. And the free woman, now we're not talking about today's free women. The free women, they would not just venture out of the house unnecessarily. So for them, it wouldn't be a case of, oh, we have to put our hijab on and go out, we have to put our hijab on and go out. They would not need to go out so much, or they would not go out so much. So when they would need to go out, for them then to wear the hijab would not be so difficult. But for the free girls, for the slave girls, for them it would be convenient to keep on wearing the hijab each time and covering themselves whilst they're working and they're doing whatever chores that they need to. So for that reason, they've been exempt from it. So there is no full hijab for slave girls. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in this way wanted that the women are differentiated here. So the munafiqeen do not then harass the Muslim women, because they will realize from the dresses, these are the free women of, meaning the Muslims, the wives of the Muslims. So they would be saved from this. And this is why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, ذَلِكَ أَدْنَى أَن يُعْرَفْنَ فَلَا يُؤْذَيْنَ. That this is the best for their recognition. So that again to distinguish between the slaves and those who are not. And that فَلَا يُؤْذَيْنَ, so that they are not harmed, so that they are not teased, made fun of, which was done to the slave women in that time, during that time. So فَلَا يُؤْذَيْنَ, they are not harmed. In harm, all harassment towards women is included in this. All harassment towards women is included in this. This is what the world is yearning for. This is what women want. Women of all faith and no faith, this is what they want. They want that when we go out, we should not be harassed. We should be free, that nobody harasses us. Allah Ta'ala is giving the solution here. Now this is a solution to it, that if you're going to dress in this manner, then people will not harass you at all. And it will be very rare that a Muslim woman who is dressed in the hijab is harassed. If she is more than anything, it will be maybe she might be teased. People might just throw some insults at her because of the way she's dressed or so. But that's as far as it will go. It doesn't go on to the harassment, which is sexual harassment, to that type of harassment. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will save them and protect them through that of hijab. And this is the crying need of our times. And then Allah says, وَكَانَ اللَّهُ غَفُورًا رَحِيمًا. Allah Ta'ala is Ghafoor and Rahim. Meaning, that look, the women need to yudnina alayhinna min jalabibihin. And remember this ruling of the niqab, covering the face as well. This is something which is unanimous. Unanimous in that all the ai*imma of that opinion, especially the three imams, that the face is also included in the hijab. The face is included, and the hands. And not only that, but even the feet is included in the hijab. Imam Abu Hanifa rahmatullahi, as well as some others, are of that opinion that the face in general is not included in the necessary hijab of a female, unless there is fitna. Unless there is fitna. Which means that if there is fitna by her not covering the face, then it becomes incumbent for the face to be covered. So in other words, directly, indirectly, the opinion is because when is the time of no fitna? When is the time of no fitna? The time of fitna is all the time that is there. The only time it isn't is if the woman has become very old and frail, and then you can say there is no fitna now for her. She can be exempt from covering the face. There is no need for her at that time to cover the face. She is exempt. If she does, that's her choice. But otherwise, you cannot say that she is free from fitna. So when it comes to that ruling, then if you look at it, is unanimous, because we are living in times of fitna anyway as it is. And at that time, the Khairul Qurun time, Allah Ta'ala is saying, يُدْنِينَ عَلَيْهِنَّ مِنْ جَلَابِيبِهِنَّ. And the fact that it was demonstrated as well how indicates towards it. This doesn't just mean the jilbab, women call it today the jilbab, you just wear the abaya on top, and that is sufficient. But it clearly shows that it is what draw down their jalabib. And how it was demonstrated in such a manner as well. And then the other verses that we have covered as well, they all indicate towards this. So there is no, it isn't a case of, this is a modernist thinking that look, no, hijab is not established in the Qur'an, it is more cultural and it is more mullah made ruling, in that it is clear cut. And not only that, but you find from the lives of the Azwaj Mutahhara, in the Sahabiyat as well, when the ayat of hijab was revealed, the changes that came about indicates towards that. So it isn't something which is just customary in certain customs and that. No, that is just an excuse. Like so many other things as well. And this is something that Muslims have made up. That if you want to make something halal, which is haram, no, there's difference of opinion. The non-Muslims have not studied the Qur'an. They have not studied hadith and jurisprudence. So they're not going to know. So homosexuality is not something which is debated in Islam. It isn't something which is of a difference of opinion in Islam. That not only those who are extreme, they've made it haram, and otherwise no. Where in the Quran did they say homosexual? They haven't come across that. It is Muslims who have taught them that this is an extreme version of Islam, and then you have the moderate version of Islam. So it is difference of interpretation. But difference of interpretation are the fiqh ikhtilafat that come about amongst the imam. Thalathat quru refers to what? The haze or the menstruation or the purity time. These are differences of opinion which have stemmed from jurisprudence side of the Quran. But when it comes to halal haram, there isn't such type of difference of opinion at all. Find any scholar, imam or anybody of that nature who will say no, it is disputed, it's something, an act like this is allowed or it is permissible. Why it is allowed and permissible? Because it's not clear-cut haram in the Quran. No scholar will say that. Only those who are not scholars will say these type of things. And that is what the Western media will then pick up upon as well and use that. Look, this is something which is open of interpretation. What next are you going to say? Somebody, a Muslim who wants to drink and drinks, then he's going to say as well, no, drinking is allowed is a difference of opinion. There's a difference of opinion in that. So there are those and they'll make their own interpretations of it. So many ahkam will be changed. So many ahkam we can just go about it saying that no, it's fine, we can do these things, but it is open to interpretation. So on one side we have the Wahhabi interpretation, and the other side we have the Western interpretation. What else can you say? The free interpretation of the Quran. That is not the case. It is so clear. What more evidence would a person actually want if you read the Quran, you understand, you study the Quran. Now this was with regard to differentiating between the Muslim women who are free. Now that they should dress in such a manner, they will not be harassed, and the munafiqeen will also know that who is who. And then that doesn't mean now that the slave girls, they're not going to cover themselves in such a manner, so they can continue to be harassed. Allah Ta'ala then in the next verses puts a total stop on any form of such mischief. Allah Ta'ala says, لَإِن لَمْ يَنْتَهِ الْمُنَافِقُونَ. These two verses are very important for us to understand. Because these verses, especially the next verse, is what the media or anti-Muslims, anti-Islam brigade use against the Muslims. That look, this is what Muslims think of us. Very important we as Muslims understand these verses as well. Allah Ta'ala says that إِلَّمْ يَنْتَهِ الْمُنَافِقُونَ. If the hypocrites and وَالَّذِينَ فِي قُلُوبِهِمْ مَرَضٍ, and those who have disease in their hearts, وَالْمُرْجِفُونَ فِي الْمَدِينَةِ, and those who spread rumors in Medina, if they do not stop, desist in doing such, لَنُغْرِيَنَّكَ بِهِمْ ثُمَّ لَا يُجَاوِرُونَكَ فِيهَا إِلَّا قَلِيلًا. Then we will definitely grant you and me, Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, authority over them, meaning to expel them from Medina. And then ثُمَّ لَا يُجَاوِرُونَكَ فِيهَا إِلَّا قَلِيلًا, after which they will hardly be able to live with you there. Meaning that if they do not stop this, meaning they are hurting the Muslims and causing problems amongst the Muslims, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will give Nabi Kareem sallallahu the authority to expel them from Madinatul Munawwara. And that they will then, if they do not refrain from these evil activities of theirs. And in all these evil activities of theirs is also included in it is the harassing of the slave girls. So both have been catered for here. That the women, Muslim women, will be differentiated in such a manner, so that should automatically stop. And when it comes to the free girls, the slave girls, there's a slaves, there's a case of that if he did not stop this mischief as well as all other mischief, Allah Ta'ala will give authority to Nabi Kareem Sallallahu to exile them from Madinah Munawwara. Allah Ta'ala says, Mal'ooneen. They are accursed. Meaning far from the mercy of Allah Ta'ala. Aynama suqifu. Wherever they go, ukhidhu. They will be seized. وَقُتِلُوا تَقْتِيلًا. And Allah Ta'ala says, and they will be killed. So wherever they go, they will be seized and they will be killed. This verse, أَيْنَمَا ثُقِفُوا أُخِذُوا وَقُتِّلُوا تَقْتِيلًا. This has not been revealed for the general and normal non-Muslims. This is not against the non-Muslims. Because there will be those Muslims who misinterpret this. And there are those non-Muslims who take this part of the Qur'an and use this against Muslims. That look, this is what their faith teaches them. That they need to do what? They need to go out and they need to seize all non-Muslims and kill all the non-Muslims. Isn't it? You hear this, isn't it? This is what they use against the Muslims. Look, this is what your religion says. So how can we trust Muslims? If they're going to practice this, then they're going to just go out and start killing all the non-Muslims. So their faith tells them to kill all the non-Muslims. That is not what Allah Ta'ala is saying here. And neither is what Deen and Islam says at all. If Deen and Islam did say this, then not a single non-Muslim would exist in any single Muslim land which was conquered by the Muslims during the time of Nabi Kareem Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam and the Khulafa Rashidin. So this does not refer to them at all. They lived in harmony. For them it is a case of present Islam to them. And if they willingly accept Islam, all the better. And if not, then it's a case of you have the dhimmi, then it's a case of, okay, because they're living in Muslim land, then they will pay the tax, which will then bring their security for them. And if they want to, and if they persist in waging war against the Muslims, then the Muslims are not going to sit there to be slaughtered. Then if they are going to wage war is the third option that is there. And that is what was the option that Nabi Kareem Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam had instructed to the Sahaba Kiram radiallahu ta'ala as well, to give to the Sahaba when they would go out to any other place that they would conquer or where there would be people, present Islam to them and then give these options to them. They were at their own mercy, free. If they wanted to, they would accept Islam. If not, then they would become dhimmi. And becoming a dhimmi was no humiliation for them. You know, people will talk negative about that. There is nothing negative about that. But look at it as we live in this country. Whether you're born or bred or not, doesn't matter. When you are in this country and you have British citizenship, what does that mean? You're going to abide by all the laws. And by abiding by laws, you have to pay tax. So you're paying tax here. And when you're paying tax, you expect what? Various services in return for the tax that you are paying. So if these dhimmis are paying tax as well, what's the difference then? And why should they not pay tax when they are now living in the Muslim country? In Muslim land and in Muslim country, the dhimmi, becoming a dhimmi is what? That they will abide by the laws of that land. And whatever laws that they have to abide by are the same laws that Muslims need to abide by. Although there is still differences with regards to dealing their matters, because there will be many things which are allowed for them but are not allowed for Muslims. So that differentiation has still been kept as well. That's why there are so many masail. If a Muslim sells swine, if he sells beer, alcohol, what the ruling is. A dhimmi is allowed to sell that. He sells that, that's a different matter because they are dhimmi after all. So the rulings have differed there. And that dhimmi now comes under the protection of the Muslims. Comes under the protection of Muslims. So that nobody will cause any harm to them. And they would be fine with that. That not only do we get to live in where we are living, but along with that we have a security as well. And the type of security which is what? Then you have the various warnings that Islam has given with regards to social crimes. And where that is the law, social crime is also going to be at a very low level. The very low level. So they're going to be more than willing to be living with Muslims in a Muslim land. So this is what this refers to. It refers towards who? The munafiqeen and those who do not comply in such a manner. It doesn't mean a general that every Muslim just goes out looking for a non-believer and starts killing the kafirs and starts killing all the disbelievers and the kafirs and that. That is not the case at all. Further, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Sunnat Allahi fil ladina khalaw min qabl. That is referring to a different incident. That's a different. That was revealed for a specific occasion, and that is used in general. Sunnat Allahi fil ladina khalaw min qabl wa lan tajida li sunnati Allahi tabdila. Allah says this was the practice of Allah Ta'ala with those who passed before you. Meaning that such people will always be at a disadvantage because of the evil ways. وَلَن تَجِدَ لِسُنَّةِ اللَّهِ تَبْدِيلًا. You will never find any change in Allah Ta'ala's practice. Allah Ta'ala's manner and system remains the same. And there is no changes in that at all. So from these verses, and this is something you've heard over the years as well, that we are in the 21st century. In the 21st century where people will say what the Qur'an is outdated. The Qur'an needs to be revised. But in the 21st century, the needs of the 21st century are there in the Qur'an. Are there in the Qur'an. We are hearing about the Qatar World Cup and that. And the positives that may have come from it. And one of the positives that you hear from it, but this is because this is which is in the limelight. But otherwise, in other Muslim countries as well, these things are happening all the time anyways, as it is. But so many of the females are happy there because they find their experience in such a predominantly male environment a lot easier and better for them because there's no drinking. Because there's no drinking and there is that segregation side of things as well, they feel very safe and they're not being harassed. So Western women themselves are feeling and are noticing the difference than being elsewhere wherein there is alcohol, people are drunk, mixing, and in that the manner in which they are harassed and they feel insecure. They may not want to admit to the fact that, yes, look, Islam is Islam after all, and Muslims, they have a better life really because of how the deen teaches people the akhlaq and character which we do not possess. So they're not going to want to admit to these things that, yes, you're right, covering yourselves, this is the right way. And so they're not going to admit to these things. But when the time comes, they're experiencing these things themselves. And when they experience it, they do not need to then say anything at all. Their heart itself will give testimony itself to look what makes sense and what doesn't make sense. But then you're going to have those who يُرِيدُونَ لِيُطْفِئُوا نُورَ اللَّهِ بِأَفْوَاهِهِمْ وَاللَّهُ مُتِمُّ نُورِهِ وَلَوْ كَرِهَ الْكَافِرُونَ. So there are going to be those who, at all costs, whatever happens, no, Islam has to be tarnished and there has to be a negative image and stereotype of Islam. So they're not going to let these things. They're just going to pick on it and they're just going to continue. But they can continue because وَاللَّهُ يُتِمُّ نُورَهُ, Allah Ta'ala will complete His deen. There will be people, such people who will come into the deen of Islam, afwaja, in great numbers, those who will first hand notice these things. Which means that a non-Muslim, for example, woman, if he was to walk through even in the United Kingdom, an area, a community wherein there's predominantly Muslim people there, and no matter whatever hour of the night, she should know the difference, feel the difference, that I walk past there and I didn't get harassed at all. Nobody whistled at me, nobody hurled an insult towards me, nothing at all. And few streets away from there and coming into the meaning another area where there is a predominant Muslims, she experiences the difference that is there. She herself will know as well. That when I walk past a pub, what the situation is. And when I walk past a masjid, there what the situation is. If I walk past a masjid, all the men move away from there. If I walk past a pub or somewhere else, they're all running towards me. And there they're all moving away from me. No matter how I may be dressed or how I am, makes no difference at all. Because then they say as well, no, well, we can dress how we want to. Why is it that we should be blamed for how we dress? Isn't it? But she will notice herself that no matter how she dresses, if she dresses past in such a manner and she walks past a masjid, the reaction will be very different. If she walks in such a manner outside any other place besides a Muslim-oriented or Muslim place or such a masjid or so, and for sure they will understand these type of things as long as we as Muslims understand what our deen is itself. Allah Ta'ala grants all understanding. ربنا تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع العليم وتب علينا إنك أنت التواب الرحيم سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين.